Well, hello and thank you for being here. Hello everyone for a new training session from the Network of Resources webinar series. So it's always a thrill, as always, to have you here. For those who join us for the very first time, a very quick introduction. So this is a webinar series that is organized by ESA in the framework of Network of Resources Initiative, where we actually promote the use of cloud resources and platforms for Earth observation data exploitation. So we're now talking to more and more people from the wider user community, mainly the scientific community, but not only. And we want to introduce you to new working environments, tools and services to conduct your Earth science or Earth observation projects in the cloud using cloud capabilities. So the NOR created this community of operational European cloud providers that give you access to the data, to the tools, to the services to conduct your projects, be they educational, research, or pre-commercial as well. So the NOR portal that my colleague Federico will be presenting to you at the end of the session has a NOR portfolio where you can actually discover all these services, compare them, and eventually see which ones are suitable for your own project or application. So the idea is to explore together these different platforms. And today we're very happy to have WASDI platform, who will give us an introduction to the platform and its capabilities. For the attendees, please write to us your questions in the chat. We will take them at the very end of the presentation. And as I said at the end as well, after that, my colleague Federico will walk you through the NOR portal, where we also have a sponsorship process that allows you to request sponsorship from ESA to use these platforms. So the floor is yours, Cristiano, and write to us your questions in the chat. We will take them at the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Zainab. So thank you, everybody, for joining this webinar. And thank you for organizing this to the NOR. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's make this agreement. I cannot see you, so please, from time to time, maybe give me an audio feedback, and I'll be happy to answer your questions at the end, but maybe if there's something that was not clear while I explain, maybe Zainab and Federico can help me. So share my screen. Can you see it? I guess you can see it. Let me log out. Yes. Okay. So good. Okay. So WASDI is a startup, and it is also a platform. And I'll demonstrate the platform, and the URL for the platform is wasdi.net. Maybe I can share it in the chat. Maybe I'd love to. Chat. There it is. Okay. So to everyone, you can go here and you can register for a new user. How do you do that? Like this. You go to login, new user, register here. You set your data, you click register, you will receive a confirmation email. So make sure you get it, maybe check the spam, and you will be ready to go. I'll go back to wasdi.net. Let me reduce this thing like that. Okay. So if you already have a user, you can log in here. And the first thing you're going to see is this marketplace. We call it the space market, where applications have been deployed. I'll let you explore it, but I'm opening one random application. Usually they all have, this is not a good example. Let me go back to another one. Maybe this one, okay, for detecting fire, active fires. There's a description here. If you go to open application, usually they're all the same, okay? You need to set some kind of bounding box, set maybe a date or two, and then you click run. But I'm not doing this. I want to show you some other features of WASD. So next is workspaces. You can think of workspaces as folders for your projects. And there is one here which is called NOR. There it is, NOR webinar. Okay, a nice empty workspace. So we saw apps, workspaces. We opened a workspace and we are now in the editor. Last screen I want to show you is the search. In the search, you can access several types of data from several data providers. We keep adding data and providers to address the needs of our users. So feel free to reach out and ask. But just to give you an idea, for instance, we could search for Sentinel-3 maybe in Bolivia. Let's say we could draw an area of interest. There are some more details for specific to this type of data, but let's search and see what we can find. And now WASDI is querying the data providers. And there are several data providers that can provide Sentinel-3 products, but WASDI selects the optimal data provider for the query posed by the user. Okay, and there are some results here, and we could import one of these products into the workspace. For instance, this one, just, as an example. So you see, we have a list of workspaces where we can import the product we want. And the one that we opened, the NOR webinar workspace, is automatically selected. Okay, the owner is my colleague Laura. Laura was supposed to run this webinar. She's not feeling well today, so I'll try to do my best. Let's try to import this product. If we go back to the workspace, we see that there's this fetch task that is going on. It started and it is importing the project and the product, sorry. And in 11 seconds, the product is available in WASDI, okay? Now, there are many more features, many more functionalities, but there is one thing I suggest you do. Actually, two things. Let me say two. You see this balloon here, feedback? Houston, we have a problem. If you go here, you will be directed to our Discord server where we offer live support. So I suggest you register there. Let me paste the link in the chat. So first step, register to WASDI. Second step, register to the Discord server so we can interact. Now let me get rid of this Sentinel-3 product. It's not relevant now. So everything that you see here in the web application, search, the marketplace, the workspaces, whatever, okay? Everything, every feature of WASDI is available with code. And there are many ways of writing code for interacting with WASDI, but I will demonstrate it through a Jupyter notebook. So you don't need to install anything. And the first time you create a Jupyter, it's going to take some minutes because it's preparing it. Then, as you saw, it becomes immediate. So maybe I need to zoom in a little bit. Is it readable?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, great. So we prepared this notebook that we are sharing with you at the end, I would say. But here we are addressing a very simple task. We are retrieving a Sentinel-5P product. So Sentinel-5P has this instrument called the Tropomi, which basically measures the quantity of several pollutants in the air, in the atmosphere. And we are searching for a Sentinel-5P product in a bounding box in a given date range. We are importing it, we are extracting a band and converting that band into a GeoTIFF. You can, of course, open those bands and do the smart things that you researchers and practitioners of Earth observation can do, way better than me. So please just keep in mind that this is just a demonstration. okay? So to recap, you create a user for WASDI, you log in, you go to workspaces, you either create a new workspace or open one you have, and you have you see, I have many. You open it, you are here, okay? Create Jupyter, takes a while, and then you are here. So at the beginning, this is empty, okay? This is not empty because I prepared it beforehand. So first thing, we are installing matplotlib because we're using it actually at the end, but okay, it was already installed. Then from here on, it's Python code. Okay, so we have the imports, usual imports. You may be familiar with most of them. This is the one which is peculiar. Okay, we have a Python programming library for interacting with WASDI. Now let me spend a minute on this. WASDI exposes REST APIs, okay? But to call REST APIs, you would need to write the same code every time, boilerplate code. So we wrote it for you and we tested it. So instead of writing yours, just import the library. It's way easier. Here, I'm demonstrating it in a Jupyter notebook, but you can do it with the tools you love. For instance, I will show you an example later on my computer with PyCharm, okay? It doesn't matter. You can work at home, you can work on Jupyter notebooks, and we also have libraries for several programming languages, including IDL, C#, Octave, Java. We have many. So back to us. We import the libraries, and now we can start working with WASDI. So wasdi.init. Okay, and it says WASDI could not load param file. That is fine. In fact, when you work on your computer, you can provide an external file with the parameters for the problem you're addressing. We're going to see them in a moment. But here, it's not necessary to do it, okay? We can provide parameters in other ways. So please insert your WASDI user. That's cristiano.nattero@wasdi.cloud. Did you type it correctly? Yes. This is my email address, so you can contact me if you wish. The password was correct. I get a session ID, and then there are some information, but in the end it says session is valid. Okay, cool. Curiosity, it says active workspace, and then there is a code here, DC something, okay? And it ends with AE24. If I go back to WASDI, you see that the workspace has the same code, DC9 things, and it ends with E24. It's it, okay? You can check it. Don't trust me. Make your own experiments. But okay, so we initialize the library. Next, just a print, okay? Why wasdi.wasdlog and not print? Because here, there is not really a difference. It's running in a Jupyter notebook. But if we deploy the application to WASDI, we don't have the Jupyter notebook interface. And so if we want to see the logs, these are applications that I ran before, and see that, okay, see that there's a log here. This is how you log those lines. wasdi.wasdlog. Otherwise, it's just a print here. Okay, not so much for now. I understand. Let's prepare some parameters, okay? So we want to have a bounding box where we are searching for Sentinel-5 P data and a time interval. This is pretty standard for us to define the bounding box in this way. There is another format which I will show you afterwards. So for defining an interval, we need an end day, and we're going to set it to today, and a start day, which is going to be the end day minus today. So end day today, start day 2 days ago. And we save those as strings in this dictionary called O-input parameters. Okay, this one. I know it's getting technical, but please feel free to stop me anytime if you have questions. So we print, and now we can set this dictionary in input to WASDI. Normally we don't do this. Normally we tell WASDI to read the parameters if we are working on our computer directly from a file, or if the application that we are developing is deployed in WASDI, then there is an interface through which WASDI is going to read those parameters. Bear with me for a moment, okay? Let's run this. Yeah, nice. So these are the parameters we prepared. Bounding box, an end date, and a start date. Now let's do something, okay? Let's assume that we have those parameters which have been given us somewhere else. We can read the parameters. So it's WASDI, get parameter, the key we want, and optionally we can provide a default value. Okay? So we read the bounding box there, and we read a date interval. WASDI, get parameter, and here we don't specify the default date. Why? Because I was lazy and I didn't want to write it. It's just for the sake of showing you the functionality. Okay, we are reading these, and we are preparing for searching images, for searching products with WASDI. And we also have this structure called search params, where we add a key value pair here. We could have more than one. Okay, let's run it. Okay, searching Sentinel-5P product for this interval. Actually, we have just loaded the parameters using the WASDI library here, but we haven't started the search yet, which we will do in this next cell. So it's WASDI.search EO images. What? The type, or the mission, the type of data that we want, start date, end date, and bounding box. So this is going to be the same for every type of data we are searching for. Satellite data, derived products, such as Copernicus marine data, maybe output of simulations such as, I don't know, ERA5 reanalysis. We have several types of data, but they all follow the same pattern. Type of data, start, date, end date, bounding box. And then we can provide parameters which are specific to the type of data that we are looking for. And we pass search params, which is this guy here. Okay, let's try. So now the Jupyter notebook called WASDI, which in turn queried the provider, and it found 3 products. See, we have a structure here, which is a collection of results that satisfy our query, and it has 3 entries. Okay, now let's explore the results. Let's print the first one. See, we have a bunch of information here. We have the footprint, we have a link, the provider tells us if a preview is available or not. We have additional properties here. Okay, you may be familiar with some of these. The orbit number, the size of the product, the relative orbit if present, several properties. Do we need to learn all of them? Not necessarily. If we want to import one or more of the products that we found, so with this we query the providers and we get the results here. We just wanted to see what it contains. Okay, but if we want to import that, we can use WASDI import product, and we pass what? We pass the one we want to import. we also have WASD import product list, and we can pass the entire list of results. But let's do it just as an example, okay? We do it only if we have at least one result. So before running this, look here. In the workspace, we don't have anything in this area. See, products, 0. Now let's import it. So the library informs us that it is importing what? This is, see, the content of the first result of the search. And WASDI says message, and the Sentinel-5P product arrived in WASDI. And we have a line here, fetch Sentinel-5P. I don't know if you can read, maybe you can zoom a little bit. Is it any clearer?
Yes,
so
yes. Perfect.
Okay, great. So we imported that, and see, this is the file that was imported. CreoDS was selected as the data provider, most appropriate data provider for this query. Okay, nice. So what? So this product is an netCDF with several bands. Now let's extract. So we imported it, okay? It says product imported. Okay, let's do one nice thing here. Let's say we want to extract one band from the Sentinel-5 product and convert it to a GeoTIFF. Of course, I could write the code here, but I wanted to show you a different thing, which is this, execute processor. So we are calling another processor. This is the name, S5 to TIFF, and we will wait for it to complete. Why do I show you this? Because it's a very powerful feature of WASDI. We could deploy several processors onto WASDI and use them as building blocks for a more complex thing. And we could also reuse processors that other WASDI users shared with us, or maybe processors that have been made public. Okay? I don't see you. Is there anything in the chat? No? Okay. So what do we do here? We select the first product and we prepare this structure, okay? Where we say the input is from the first result, we pick the field called file name. And the band we want is the band called nitrogen dioxide underscore tropospheric underscore column. It's this one. See? Nitrogen dioxide tropospheric column. Is it? Sounds like it. Okay. And then we call the processor. And we are doing this. We are executing the processor, passing the name of the processor we want and the inputs that we prepared. Okay, some log to tell us, hey, I'm waiting for the processor. And then we wait for it to complete. Okay? So this is, if you wish, an asynchronous call. Why so? Because we may want to start several processes in parallel and then wait for them to complete. So we synchronize here. And we are going to print a process, we're going to print a line here. We're going to print the process with its process ID provided by WASDI, completed in status, hopefully done. If it fails, we're going to see error. Okay? Shall we try it? Yes, let's run. So, API call, okay. And now we are waiting. Let's move to WASDI. See? A processor started here. Maybe we can see its logs. It's Sentinel-5P to TIFF converter and status waiting. That's the output product that it's going to generate. It generated it. The status is still running. See the symbol here of the hourglass. We are still waiting. Okay, waiting for process. And here we have a string, process ID to complete, and it completed in status done. This is the ID of the processor, which we can read also here. And in fact, in WASDI, the logs say done. Okay? And we have this new product here. If you can see it, it's called underscore nitrogen dioxide tropospheric column, which has only one band. Okay? Now what? Well, first review what we did. We prepared the inputs for calling this processor with this call, WASDI execute processor. And then we wait for this process that we just created to finish. And now we saw that here we saw the logs, but to each processor, it is also possible to associate what we call a payload. Let's explore it. It's a very simple JSON object. And this is where we can store additional information about the input, the outputs, things that happened and that are relevant and that we want to maybe check either manually, like I'm doing now, or automatically. Okay? For instance, here we have a key called output, and the value is the name of the file that has been created, the GeoTIFF containing just the nitrogen dioxide tropospheric column. Okay? Now we can access that programmatically with this. Okay? WASDI get processor payload, and we need to provide the ID of the processor. Okay? And then we can explore that object. If it is not none, then we can read a value. Let's try it. So the payload was this one. It is formatted in a different way, but it is exactly the same that we just saw here on WASDI. Okay? So why did I want to open it? Because finally, to conclude this very simple exercise, I want to open the file that was created, and I had to read its name here. And then once we had the GDAL dataset, we can read band number 1, turn it into an NumPy array. Okay, this is just to set not a number for the no data. And then we can show it. Let's do it. Okay, I am sure that this visualization can be improved, but it's just to show you what? It's just to show you that you have the tool and you have the data in WASDI. You need to know the name of the product, and WASDI is going to give you the path. And this is how we are supposed to access the files. Okay, instead of obtaining the path with our own logic, we just ask WASDI, give me the path of this product. Okay? Let's see if we can see the product in WASDI. I guess we can. Let's see. It takes a moment, and it says publishing band. Why? Because this is a geographic visualizer. And there it is. Okay, it needs to make it suitable to be served to GIS-like tools, such as this one. Okay, it's not exactly the same visualization, but yeah, there's a, let's say, a lighter area here and another here. The style is different, but those are more or less the same areas. Okay, so I'll stop here a moment. I would like to get some questions, and then I would like to show you how to deploy an application to WASDI. Is that okay with you, Zainab and Federico?
Yes, yes, perfect. If there are any questions in the chat. So what one participant is saying that preparing the notebook takes a long time.
Click again on Create Jupyter. The first time it takes a while, it doesn't open automatically. Click again. Yes, it takes some minutes, but it doesn't open it automatically. If I can see the... Ali says
okay,
it's fine, it's working now.
Yeah,
Okay.
saying that
Nice.
it's fine, it's working now.
Hello, Ali, nice to meet you, to see you again. Okay, cool.
Okay, I think we can carry on. If there are any questions, we can take them at the end of the presentation.
Okay, great, great. So let me show you the next step here. I have more or less the same exercise. It's slightly, I would say, less redundant, but it's more or less the same. It's a file called myprocessor.py. This is how you create an application for WASD. Okay, you can have as many files containing your code as you want.
Sorry, Cristiano, can you increase the font just a bit?
Yes, sure.
Sure that everyone.
Trust me, I would love to. It's not increasing. What about this? No. Appearance. Zoom. Maybe like this. Is it clearer? Is it enough?
Yes, that's perfect.
Okay, great. So in order to create an application, so let me step back. You can work with WASDI in the tools, the editors, the debuggers, the environments you want, okay? This is a very simple example. It's the same exercise, and in order to work with WASDI, you need to organize your code in this way. You have to have a file called myprocessor.py in Python with a method called run. Okay, so here I have my main, and here I do the init, and to the init I pass a JSON file which contains my user and password. So I'm not going to share that with you. What else do you need? You may want to add a parameters.json that you can call. Okay, and you will need also a file called pip.txt, and I'll talk about it later, but basically here you need to write the packages you want to install in WASDI. So let's go back to the code. I want to close that. I do not want to share it because it contains my password. So import the libraries you need, import WASDI, have a method called run. From here on, it can be hugely complex. You can have 200 source files. It doesn't matter, okay? But you need this entry point. So what do we do here? We log, hello. We get the bounding box. Okay, WASDI get parameter, bounding box, default value. We can print it. We create these two datetime objects corresponding to today and 2 days ago. Why so? Because we read also the start date and the end date, the end date with get parameter, start date, you see, end date. But here we provide a default value. If this is not a key in the dictionary of the parameters, then please use what O and day converted to string in this format. Okay, and we print it, a log, then we create the search params. And you see that here, this is new. I don't know if you noticed that when we executed applications here in WASDI, we had a progress bar. Now for the completed tasks, they're all 100%. Okay, here you have the ability to give a feedback to the user, and you can say, hey, we're at 10% of the total. Now this is quite arbitrary, okay? It's not always so easy to predict how much time it's going to take to complete the operation, but just to give the users a feeling that the application is proceeding. Let me call again search your images. Maybe I can make it this wider with the same parameters that we used in the Jupyter notebooks. So type of data, type of mission, start date, end date, bounding box, additional parameters that are specific to the type of data that we are looking for. Okay. We print the length of the results. We update the progress and we move it to 20%. And if there is at least one result, we import the first one. Okay, nice. Then we update the percentage of progress to 30%. And here we prepare the inputs for the Sentinel-5 to TIFF converter processor, and we call it WASDI execute processor. And okay, we updated the percentage of progress to 40, we log, and we say then to wait for that processor to complete. And we log, hey, it completed, done, 100%, we are happy. Okay, I can run this code locally. Let's do it. Again, I am using PyCharm. You can use whatever you want. Visual Studio Code. You can use any editor. Doesn't matter. See, it's running. Import product. If I go to WASDI, see, it's importing the product. Actually, it's always a good idea not to import products that are already in your workspace. We could check it with the TIFF. Now, that was the nitrogen dioxide tropospheric column that we, the TIFF file that we created. It's going to be overwritten. Yeah, I didn't stop the code, but it says that okay, convert Sentinel-5 product to GeoTIFF. Let's see, since it is waiting, we have no control now, okay? The application is waiting for this one to complete. Let's see. Okay, done. So we have again the control in the debugger. And we update the percentage. It's too fast. I want to show you a few things. So we update this, and WASDI replies, it's running locally. Will not update the progress percentage on server. Okay. So this bar here that we saw, for instance, in here, this percent here is the advancement of this application, this one, Sentinel-5 to TIFF, not of the code I am running locally, okay? Whereas when I called update progress perch, I want to show in WASDI the advancement of my code. This may be a bit confusing. Tell me if it's not, if it's clear. But anyway, it completed, it said done, and it's over. So what did we see? We saw that it's possible to run code in the Jupyter notebook. It's possible to do the same operations manually on the website. And it's possible to run the same code locally on my computer. Now I'm doing another thing. Okay, next step is, let me go here. Okay, the next step is deploying my code to WASDI. So I go here, I'm in the editor, in the workspace that I opened, and I go to new app. Let's call it Nor Sentinel. How can I call it? S5 Nor webinar. Okay. Programming language. Let's pick Python 3.10. We have several. Okay. let's pick Python. And then I need to drag and drop my code here, but I need to create a zip file. So what do I need to put in that? This is the same folder with the code and the rest. We need just to put myprocessor.py, and if we need to install libraries with pip, we can create a pip.txt file containing the libraries. So just to show you how it is done, it's like this. One package per line. You can also add the version if you want. Okay. Whatever. Now, since WASDI is necessary to execute any WASDI processor, in WASDI it is installed by default. But this is just to give you how it is formatted. Okay. I don't need to upload the parameters.json. I don't need to upload the config.json. Okay. So back to the file explorer, just myprocessor.py and pip.txt, and I create a zip file with them. The zip file can be named however you want. Okay, so I go there, drag and drop, bam, it is, and this is nor demo. Okay, and here I can show the users a sample of the parameters, like that. Okay, apply, and the processor is uploaded to WASDI. Okay, apply. Okay, it was already deployed. Close. Apps. S5. There it is. Okay, nor demo, and it says deploy done. The application is now available. Last thing, then we close. I can publish this, show application in the store. The marketplace we saw at the beginning, I can give it categories, air quality, nice description here. And last thing, apply. Last thing, I can create a user interface. So let's create a tab called input. And let's add a control here. So maybe I can make it slightly larger. It's a JSON file describing the user interface. And I can add here a date, and this is going to be called start date. Is it required? No, because we have a default value. Let's add another one. This is called end date. And then we need a bounding box. So select area. And this is going to be called bbox. Okay, let's remove this last trailing comma. We can format the JSON, apply. Please check your UI, JSON is not valid. This one. Okay, apply. Processor data updated. We're almost done. Last thing, I'll go to this S5. Let's see. Oh, there it is. So we created an application, we created an interface for it. See? I mean, is it the best interface I ever saw? No. Okay. How much time did I need to create that? Very little. So here we can create, I don't know, here, Salzburg, a bounding box, select a date, I don't know, 1st of November, and 21st of September, and we can open a workspace that we created, nor webinar, run, and now the code that was here is running on WASDI in an application, and we can see, okay, it's preparing the application to be executed the first time, and we can let it run. And while it runs, I think I could stop here and maybe answer some questions or leave the floor to the organizers. Right?
Thanks, Cristiano. Thank you. We have a question in the chat. Can you read it or?
Hello, Guillaume. Hi, I have some questions. Would like to know if it's possible to ask a question to the user in the interface of WASDI when he runs an application. Very nice feature. For example, a question that needs a response like yes or no that will serve the code to go through this step or not. It is possible with WASDI.WASDI log or something like this. Guillaume, this is a very interesting feature for interactive applications. At the moment, we do not support them, but I love this. Okay, so I will discuss this with the team, and in the meantime, there's a workaround you can use. So I understand it's not the same thing because maybe you need to see the results of the application that you executed to ask the right question to the user. But maybe you can ask it beforehand in some cases. So maybe it could be a flag, do this or not. Okay. See, there's an error here. What happened? List index out of range. Okay. Why so? Found zero. Found zero. Probably the bounding box was too small and it didn't find any products in that area. But you get the point, okay? I mean, the engineer in me would like to debug this application now, but maybe I can stop a moment, or I can go on and while you ask me questions or say something else. You tell me. Just here the label, maybe it should be end date, and this one should be start date, apply. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm done. I don't know how much time we have, but I think
okay, yes, I was actually, because we're running a bit out of time, so I was actually, if there are no further questions, I have a very quick one. So is the notebook you presented, would it be available to the participants, maybe for the ones who want to
yes,
work on it a bit more after the session?
Good point. I was forgetting about this. How do I reach out to you? We have a newsletter here. It's going to be infrequent messages, useful messages for you. And I suggest you subscribe. When you do, we are going to send you the notebook and share the workspace with you so you can experiment easily. You don't need to start from scratch. I also will share the code for the application, this one, with you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, maybe you can stop now.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thanks.
No, thank you very much.
Feel free to send us if you have any questions. So we have comments on the chat. Thanking you, Cristiano. Actually, we will send you a survey after the session where it's a very good place to tell us if you have any suggestions, like just what happened now between Guillaume and Cristiano. If you have suggestions for features that you want to be included in the platform, data that is missing, or any feedback is super useful for us and for the provider side as well. So thank you very much. I will hand it over very quickly to my colleague Federico for a presentation of the NOR portal, where you actually can ask for sponsorship if you want to use, for example, the WASDI platform beyond the trial version, because there is a trial version, if I'm not mistaken, Cristiano?
Indeed. For the moment, you can go and register freely and play with it. There are some limitations.
Okay.
So this is useful if you want to make some experiments, understand if you can work with it or not. If you want to use it more intensely, the best thing would be to ask the NOR for a voucher.
So let's see how we can do that. Up to you, Federico.
Thank you very much, Zana. Thank you, Cristiano, for this really helpful presentation. I will share my screen. Okay, I think you can see it. So we are going through the Network of Resources portal very quickly, and then on the sponsorship process. First of all, to reach the NOR portal, you need to go to nor-discover.org and you will find the home page where there are already some useful information related to the network of resources, like the number of approved projects. We almost reach 1,000 projects, and providers onboarded that are 25 at the moment, and the number of services. Then you can navigate through the portal in different sections. One of the most useful one is the news section, where you can find news related to webinar activities, new providers, new services, and so on. And then to access all the different services, you have to go to the NOR portfolio, and by going down, you will find a button called Access It Here that will redirect you to the portfolio itself. Here we have an overview of the different providers and different services. You can scroll down, or you can use the search bar here. You have also the different services divided by type and so on. So if, for instance, we want to use WASDI, we find it on the list, and we have here some details related to the platform and to the services, the collections, the provider help desk link, which is really helpful, and we advise you to go first to the provider and ask if the services you would like to ask a sponsorship for are really helpful for your project and for the goals that you have. And then if you click on the pricing wizard, you will be redirected to a form. The first thing that you need to state is which project type you are working on. We have 4 different categories: commercial, research, pre-commercial, and educational projects. And I want to remind you that only research, pre-commercial, and educational projects are suited for ESA sponsorship. So once you select your project type, you then can select which kind of services you want to request by clicking on the tick box and changing the number of units that you find here. Sometimes are subscriptions, sometimes are other kind of units, and the duration. Then, if you go on at the bottom of the page, there is an overview of the total cost that you are requesting and 2 different options. The first one is to go to the provider website and ask directly to the provider this service. Otherwise, you can ask for an ESA sponsorship. Then, if you go for this option, you have to say if you're working on an ESA project or not. Of course, if you're working on an ESA project, you will have also an ESA technical officer following your project and an official ESA contract number. Otherwise, you say no. I want to remind you that for non-ESA project, there is a limit of 5,000 euros that can be sponsored and no more, with some limitation also on data. And if you will or will not co-fund the cost. If you exceed the 5,000 euros, you need to select yes and provide the amount that it's not covered by the sponsorship. Otherwise, you can select no, and we can click on Ask ESA for sponsorship. This will bring us to a new form where we need to put all the different information related to the project, starting from the project title, the name of the project coordinator, the work category, professor, teacher, student, employee, and so on. The official email address of the project coordinator. It must be the organization email address. We cannot accept sponsorship requests that are coming from personal email addresses. Project organization name, country, web page, and address. Then there are different sections where we can describe the project, starting from the objectives, the final goal of your project, and the implementation methodology that we are going to use to reach these goals, the expected results, and the justification for selected services and provider. This is why we advise you first to contact the service provider, so you are sure that you have a justification for the service you are requesting. Then the description of work within the cloud environment, really important section, because the network of resources is an initiative aiming to bring user to data and not the contrary. So we want to see that you are working inside the cloud environment and you are not just asking for access data. For that, ESA has other possibilities. Then the geographical area of interest of the project. And finally, we can say if it's the first time that you have applied for an NOR sponsorship. If it's the first time, you need to select yes. If it's not the first time, then you need to state the previous request ID that you had for the project. If it is an ESA project, you will have here other fields to fill out with the ESA technical officer and the ESA contract number. And finally, there is the overview of what we are requesting. The last section that we need to fill out is the expected date of submission of the set of slides in the format of month and year. What is the set of slides? Is a set of slides done in PowerPoint or a PowerPoint-like program with 4 to 5 pages of presentation where you say why and how the resources you requested through the network of resources were helpful for your project. Even if you didn't reach your final goal. Let's say it's a research project, you don't know at the beginning if you're going to reach this goal, but we want to see how you use these resources. And you can or cannot sign up for the NOR newsletter, but you must accept, of course, the ESA privacy policy. Then the last thing that you have to do is to download the sponsoring request. It will generate a PDF. You download the PDF, sign the PDF, and you email it, send an email with the PDF signed to the NOR-sponsorship-request@esa.int. If it is an ESA project, you need to have also the signature of the ESA technical officer on the request that you are sending. We cannot process requests that have not a signature on them. I think that's it from my side, and I give back the floor to Zaina.
Okay, thank you, Federico. So if there are no further questions, we will wrap up the session here. Thanks a lot. Thank you, Cristiano, for the very interesting presentation on WASDI platform. And thanks, Federico. Please, I shared the link to the NOR portal where you can discover all what Federico presented. And you please feel free to send us questions on the NOR sponsorship process if you have any, and of course to us or to Cristiano if you have any question about WASDI platform. And as I said before, it would be really appreciated if you take a few minutes to fill in the survey that will appear just after the end of the webinar to help us enhance actually the training initiative and tell us what you want to see in upcoming sessions, or give us any feedback on the platforms if you try them out. So thank you very much, and see you in the next session. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.